Hi, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the May 7th budget hearing to order. Please stand for the pledge. Ed, will you lead us in the pledge tonight?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Raby, turn it over to you for the budget hearing.
Thank you. Okay, good evening. Tonight we will present the final budget before the public considers it for a vote. Some budget challenges that we started off the process with. We had the expiration of the pandemic grants of $4.8 million. Our tax levy limit, erosion of the district's buying power, continues with inflation well in excess of the stated 2% tax cap before adjustments. A 1% on the levy only generates $686,000 in additional revenue. On the state aid side, the final 2024 state aid revenue is set at $64,894,676, which includes a loss of $578,399 in anticipated foundation aid. So from our previous executive governor's run, we only got an additional about $68,000. Employee salary increases are at $3,113,039. Benefits increases are at $1.9 million. Special education, including out-of-district placements and related services, increases came in at almost $2 million, $1.9 million. Transportation contractual increases came in late during the budget development process, and that was an increase of $1 million, which was unexpected. So as we talked throughout the process all the way since January, we have three control levers to fill the gap: the levy, the reserves, and then additional reductions to expenditures. The levy will be set at $1 million, or the increase will be set at $1,335,437. The use of reserves, both restricted and unrestricted, will be $6,389,121,000, and then the additional reductions to expenditures came in at $4,481,476. On to the tax levy. This is the formula that we have to go through in order to identify our levy. We start with this year's current tax levy, which was $68.6 million. We multiply that by the tax-based growth factor to come up to $68.9 million. We then add in the payment in lieu of taxes receivable in 2024, and that's an additional $156,000. We then back out the capital tax levy exclusions for 24, and that was $2.7 million to come in at $66.3 million. We then multiply that by the allowable growth factor of 2% to come in at $67.6 million. And then we get into 2025, we back out those pilots, anticipated pilots for this upcoming year of $178,000. And then the levy, before we make any adjustments or exclusions, is set at $67.4 or $67.5 million. Then looking at the exclusions, we then utilize the capital tax levy exclusions for 25, and that's almost $2.5 million we add back in, along with the employee retirement system and the teacher's retirement system exclusion, and that would be almost $22,000. So the levy will be set at $69,966,619 for an increase of a 1.95%. Last year's increase was a little over $1.6 million, or 2.48%. On to the restricted and unrestricted reserves. Looking at our restricted reserve, and this is a bit of history going back to 2018, go all the way over to the right side of the chart, looking at our proposed appropriations for 2025. We're looking to utilize $1 million from the employees' benefit accrued liability reserve, $985,000 from the employees' retirement reserve, and then $1.7 million from the teachers' retirement reserve. $128,000, almost $129,000 from the unemployment reserve, another $1 million from the workman's compensation reserve. We do have the bus reserve showing up here, but that goes towards the direct purchase of buses of $759,892, and that's one of the propositions on the ballot for May 21st. for a grand total of $5.6 million. And then we back out the bus reserves and we take a look at just the appropriated restricted reserves utilized for the budget, and it's $4,840,777. The estimated restricted reserve at year end will be almost $15 million, and that makes up 9.56% compared to our total budget. And that's down from 13.37 in the current year. On to expenditures, reductions of expenditures. We made some reductions, most significantly from our staffing, a total of 47.5 FTEs. 30.5 FTEs came from the certified side, and then 17 FTEs came from the classified side. That resulted in an increase in payroll of 4.11%. And on the benefit side, we had an increase of 5.84%. So total general fund payroll and benefits with those reductions is still at 4.63% increase. Looking at the budget in more detail, our expenditures will be down on the administration and general support of $843,000. Instructional will be up $4.2 million. Transportation is up $1.3 million. Benefits is up $1.9 million. Debt service will be up almost $1.6 million. The total general fund budget will be up $8.2 million, and you take out the vehicle reserve purchases, and again, comparing to the previous year, it is down $223,000. So the total general fund increase with vehicles is $7,981,015. Looking at that graphically, 58% of the budget comes from instructional, 5% transportation, 22% benefits, 5% debt service, and 10% administration and general support. On the revenue side, state aid came in as an increase of $1,955,385. Sales tax and other charges would be an increase of $1 million. Appropriated fund balance, $102,524. Use of reserves, $2,610,777. Miscellaneous revenue, $1.2 million. The tax levy, as mentioned, $1.3 million, for a total general fund increase on the revenue side of $8.2 million. Again, looking at that graphically, 45% comes from the tax levy, 42% from state aid, 6% from sales tax and other charges, 1% appropriated fund balance, 3% from the use of reserves, and 3% miscellaneous revenue. Three-part budget, which is required by state law to present to the public. We had a 0.91% decrease in administration, 6.43% increase in program, 6.07% increase in capital, for a total budget increase, as mentioned before, of 5.55%, or $8.2 million. Estimated tax rate, considering no changes in assessment, full value is a 24-cent increase per thousand, or 1.95%, and 92 cents per thousand for West Seneca, as we have an equalization rate of 26%.
Jeff, Dr. just for a second, can you go back one slide for me, please? Just to the three-part budget.
Yep.
And the administration, and I know you touched on this before, but how is that? So back on the expenditure slide, you show a reduction of $843,436.
And that's the percentage.
How is that called?
And that's the percentage.
Where's that savings coming from?
So it's a number of different line items that are categorized for in administration. It's equipment, it's repair of equipment, it's contractual services, it's the print shop, those types of items. There's a listing of about 7 or 8.
People hear administration, they figure the people that work in central office.
Yeah. It's not the case.
Okay.
Yep. So let me go back. Okay. Was that this one? So estimated changes in the 24-25 property tax bills. Again, we take a look at a couple different examples. This one, the first one is a $52,000 assessed value home, because that's the average assessed value in the district. We go all the way over to the right and look at the 24-25 tax bill before STAR is applied. The bill would be $2,519.32, or an increase of $48.09. $100,000 assessed value home, equalization rate of 26%. would be valued at $384,615. The bill would be $4,844.85 for an increase of $92.47. And then a $250,000 home, equalization rate of 26% would be $961,538. Increase in the tax bill would be $231.18. Under the bus purchasing, this would be Proposition 2, as mentioned, totals $759,892. There are 4 student capacity buses of $429,051 and 2 65 student capacity buses for $330,841. And you can see over time, since 2019-20, how we have received aid back on the purchase of our buses. The purchase here over those 5 years is $3.3 million. We received aid back of almost $2.3 million. So almost we get $3 million or $2.3 million back on those purchases. Under the capital outlay, which is embedded in the budget proposal, the capital outlay work being anticipated within this budget plan will include, but not necessarily be limited to, modest upgrades and improvements to the West Elementary Auxiliary Gymnasium, including the completion of ceiling, lighting, and acoustics in this space. The 2 propositions, the first one is the budget. The proposed budget is $156,020,575. Percentage increase is 5.55%. The tax levy will be set at $69,966,619 for a 1.95% increase. Proposition 2 is the vehicles purchase, which is $759,892. A total of 6 buses, 4 30-passenger and 2 65-passenger. If the budget is unsuccessful and the board has to move to a contingency budget, we cannot raise the tax levy at all. Therefore, we have to make that reduction of $1,335,437. It would come from additional staffing reductions of $756,002, training, travel, and equipment, $479,435, and then the additional reduction would be the capital outlay of $100,000. And under a contingency budget, there would be no community use of our facilities without full reimbursement of expenses. Board of Education, there are 3 seats, 2 for 3-year terms. The first and second top votes of the 6 candidates would get those positions, and there would be 1 for a 2-year term, and that candidate would be the 3rd top vote getter of the 6 candidates listed here. Budget vote is on May 21st, Tuesday, May 21st, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the East Senior High School. Voter eligibility is you must be a citizen of the United States, 18 years of age, and a resident of the school district for a period of 30 days immediately prior to the vote. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are ready to adjourn our budget hearing, so may I have a motion to adjourn the budget hearing?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay, may I have a second? Sarah seconds. All right, the meeting is adjourned. The budget hearing meeting is adjourned. We're going to open up our regular board meeting now. So the regular board meeting has been called to order, and our first item on the agenda is the student representatives report. So I'd like to welcome our student representatives from East Senior to present their school report. Students, you may come up to the podium. Yep, up here, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gates, Board of Education, Dr. Raby. It's my pleasure to introduce 2 of our students. One of our students, Emily Putnam, was supposed to join us and has been under the weather for the past couple of days and actually made it into school for AP Calc today and said, I'm here, but I have to wear sunglasses and I'm going right home. I'm so sorry. So, but Luke Osmansky and Idira Arabadati are here to present just some of the things that have been going on at East Senior over the last few months, and we are happy to share it with you.
Thank you.
All right. So to start off, we've had Honor Society inductions for over 200 students. We had 8 alumni added to Veterans Hall. Thousands of items and financial donations to the Food Bank of New York, to PATH to support victims of human trafficking, to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, which came from our faculty versus students volleyball game. Unfortunately, the students lost. I was part of that. And to our Buffalo Animal Shelter.
We had multiple sport division competition and state qualified. Boys volleyball back-to-back NYS competition, countless volunteer hours.
And we had our Freaky Friday, Anything Goes, Spam Fest, and Film Fest performances. We held our March into Literacy and the April month of vocabulary. And we had many trips, both local and out of state.
And now I'll be talking about the fashion show. The Fusion Fashion Show, which has been running since 2009, showcased the work of 18 high school fashion students from across Western New York at the show at Seneca in Buffalo. The theme for the March 2017 show, Aurora, was developed by students based on how the color in the sky reflect the idea of personal change and the feeling of community as a student. I enjoy every moment while working down the runway and designing every single thing about it. I loved everything. I also want to give a big shout out to everybody who came to support. It meant a lot.
Recently we had our Mr. East competition. So you can see me up there. I ended up winning. And then that's my friend Xavier, he got runner-up. And so there was 5 senior boys this year. We all had our own managers, and we raised money by selling tickets and by selling stars in order to win the fan favorite category. And all the money ended up going towards Trojan Take Action and Habitat for Humanity.
Busiest day of the year. Mental health awareness fair, over 250 students attended. Stress relief activity, rock painting and coloring. Writing letters of thanks to a meaningful individual. Sharing messages of positivity with stickers. The Isabella Project. Adoption drive. Funder and supplies drive for City of Buffalo Animal Shelter and Taste of Culture. On May 3rd, East Senior High School had a Taste of Culture run by Mrs. Sorensen and teachers on the diversity community. With their help, students were able to bring food from different backgrounds to showcase the culture in our schools. There were so many different food, including Chinese food, Polish, German, Bengal, Nigeria, Puerto Rico, and Yemen. Students and staff enjoy celebrating the Taste of Culture and embracing diversity background.
And then coming up on the 24th, we have our annual Children's Take Action event, where this year students can pick what groups they want to be in so they can be with their friends, and they'll all be separated around West Seneca for community service projects. And we'll come back to the school for some food and fun. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good job. Okay, while they're taking a picture, thank you, Luke and Adira. Thank you for your presentation, and Mr. Winnicke. So I just have a brief report for the community tonight. I hope everyone had a chance to look over our first ever Budget Board of Education newsletter, the inaugural newsletter focused on the budget. Moving forward, the board hopes to put out a newsletter 3 to 4 times a year highlighting some of the work we do behind the scenes, like touring buildings and representing our district at local and statewide board conferences. In addition, I'd like to remind our community that the next time we meet will be at our annual budget vote and election, 2 weeks from tonight on May 21st. Please come out and vote. The doors are open at East Senior from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We have over 30,000 eligible voters in this community, yet a little over 2,000 come out to vote. The school district needs your vote. I hope to see all of you there, and we appreciate and value all your voices and your support. Thank you. So we'll move on to public comment now. Does anyone want to give me the list? Is there anybody signed up? Okay. The board will now entertain public comments for 30 minutes, with each speaker given 3 minutes. When called up, please step up to the podium and state your name and address, and do not divulge any personal or confidential information. Please remember, this is a time for the board to listen to your concerns, and we, at this time, can't respond, but leave your information with the district clerk, and someone will be sure to get back to you. So I'm not sure if this were people signed up to speak, or if they were just signed up to attend, but you're welcome to come up. I have Mark and Danielle, Dan, and Nicole, so any of you can come up to the podium to speak if you're interested. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me for the chance to speak. My name is Mark Priori. I reside at 15 Partridge Lane in West Seneca. I'm a 25-year resident of the town. I have 2 sons currently at West Seneca East Senior, and I am one of the candidates for New York State Assembly here in the 142nd District, representing all the town of West Seneca. I stand before you, the board, this evening. Some parents had reached out to me concerned over some incidents that were taking place specifically at East Senior, where their daughter was playing. They're an 8th grade student who is playing JV sports that had to come into the senior school to get changed to get ready for the activities. And while I'm not here to debate the merits of the law of transgender students being able to use the facilities whichever gender they identify as, I am concerned with a few items here, one of which is the allegations that the particular student was taking photographs within the bathroom and or the locker room and posting them on social media. So the ask there is for the students to maybe be reacclimated and reinformed as to what the policies are regarding social media and taking pictures in such a setting. And of equal importance is to establish, if there isn't one already established, a policy in place for students under the premise that it's equality for all students, not just those that identify as transgender, but students should be allowed to feel comfortable to come into the schools and not have to have the stress of waiting all day to go to practice or whatever the case may be, to use the bathroom during the course of the school day, to find some sort of safe place within the school to allow the students, regardless of how they identify, a safe place to change, use the facilities, or any other issues that they may have regarding how they identify, whether or not there is transgender or is a student that identifies by their born gender, to have some sort of policy in place so they can use facilities that they're comfortable with throughout the school day and for after-school activities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, would Danielle like to come up and speak to the board? Thank you. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name correctly, so.
My name is Danielle Mashesky. I live at 66 Terrace Boulevard. This is my ex-husband, Mike Lindhurst. This evening, I'm here to request the board add a policy to the Code of Conduct regarding misuse of artificial intelligence. Our daughter is in 8th grade. In this past month, she has been dealing with classmates that altered a picture of her and her friend to make them appear nude and decided to share it with others. School administrators, teachers, and staff, including the SRO, acted right away and have been so supportive. We are very grateful for each of them. However, the boy who created this disgusting altered picture remains in school after allegedly being suspended for only 5 days. I have shared this incident with the school board through email, and unfortunately, I have not heard back. Sorry. When a student's privacy is violated, their reputations are impacted through this AI-generated content, also known as deep fakes. A student's self-esteem, mental health are affected. This incident has deeply affected our daughter and our family's mental health, confidence, safety, and relationships. It is unfortunate that this incident will always be in the back of our minds, My daughter's father and I have spent hours on the phone and in meetings advocating for these girls, and we are here today to ask for your support. There's been many recent articles and incidents throughout our nation involving schools and AI. There was recently an article posted by the New York Times on April 8th. There was a middle school in California who had this same similar incident happen. Their superintendent was acted on it, sent a message to all the community that included all students, teachers in both the middle school and the high school, to ask to help the community and bring forth this information to the school if it happens to any of their students. 2 weeks after this, the school board approved expulsion of 5 of their students. The district's superintendent said that he and other school leaders wanted to set the national precedents, that it's extreme bullying when it comes to these schools. Last month, the FBI warned that it is illegal to distribute customer-generated child sexual abuse material, including realistic-looking AI-generated images. May I ask to have an extension?
Yes.
I just have 2 more things.
ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We strongly encourage our Board of Education and all school administrators within the district to review and update schools' policy to address doctored images and hinder manipulative AI use. I request that West Seneca schools make safeguards precarious for students and enact tough discipline for creators of such material, including expulsion. We need to protect our children and our schools from this alarming AI image generating phenomenon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We actually still have time for everybody. We have 30 minutes, so whoever forgoed their time, you are welcome to come up.
Hi, everyone. I'm a little short, I guess.
Take your time.
Nicole Malczewski. I'm actually here to address the board in regards to the amended law that was just changed and passed last month in April regarding Title IX as well. As Mark Priori had mentioned, one of the students that he was referring to is my daughter. I did contact the school to no avail. There was no accommodations that were made in reference to my daughter and how she was feeling. The feedback that I had gotten from whom I spoke with was it's the law and that there was nothing that they could do about it. So I guess my question to the board is what are we going to do for all students that attend all schools in West Seneca to keep them safe? I send my kid to school every day. She spends more time with you guys than she does with me. And I need to know that she's in safe hands and that people aren't only advocating for one group or one student that I'm now aware of. I don't know how many students identify as an opposite sex or the transgender community within the West Seneca schools, and that's not even my issue. I did take to Facebook and posted a post on the West Seneca community page. I got over 400 responses with irate parents over this situation, and I had several moms contact me and inbox me to ask me if it was the same kid that was in the bathroom with my daughter as well. He is causing and imposing problems for other girls in the school. They're all uncomfortable and nobody seems to have a solution. So I think that that's really what I'm looking for here is how can we make all students comfortable with this? I understand it's a law, but it's being imposed without reference to the other side's feelings and considerations. My daughter's in 8th grade. She's 14. I wouldn't let her change it with boys in her bedroom. Why would I let her change with boys in the public school bathroom? So a solution would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Okay, I have one other person signed up.
I'm going to change the topic here. I'm Dan Collender. I am a Cheektowaga resident that pays Town of West Seneca, or West Seneca School District taxes. My first question is, do any of you at this table, these tables, know how many properties there are in Cheektowaga that pay Town of, or West Seneca school taxes?
So we don't answer questions during public
I
comment?
know,
We
that's
just-
very disappointing. I feel like I'm speaking to the wall. But anyway, there's 3,500 plus. Not a mention of how much it's going to cost us in the budget. Not one single word on what the Cheektowaga residents will pay in the budget. To add to that, the budget's numbers are flawed. Mr. Raby, you want to pay attention because it's your data. You said the residential assessment ratio is 26% in West Seneca, and it's not, it's 25 this year. Therefore, everybody's going to see a bigger increase than what you are projecting. Just like a teacher, I would like you to have your math right. And I would also like the school district to stop ignoring us residents, 3,500 plus residents in the town of Cheektowaga. I mean, it seems like we're good enough to get the bill in the mail and to pay the taxes, but we can't even be included on how much we're going to pay with the increase in the budget that you people are going to vote on tonight. Or you people, well, you got to vote to accept it so you can send it for us to vote on it. But we are 3,500 plus properties paying a big chunk of taxes to West Seneca School District. We should be included in that budget, just like any of the other districts. I believe Orchard Park has some people, town of Orchard Park, and I believe Cheektowaga, Sloan, whatever. But anyway, nonetheless, there's other districts, Hamburg, whoever it is, we're not included in that budget presentation. And I've been watching it for the last 3 months, and as of tonight, we're still not included in it. What's it going to take to get us included in it? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else who'd like to address the board? Okay, thanks. We're going to move on to voting. Okay, so we are on the consent agenda. I'll give you some time to look at that. I would need a motion to approve the consent agenda which includes items 4 through 7. So I'll give you a moment to look that over, and then I'll need a motion and a second.
I'll be happy to make the motion if everyone's ready.
Okay, Vince makes the motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Laura? Laura seconds. Okay, no discussion on the consent agenda, so all in favor? Aye. All right, passes unanimously, 6-0. Okay, we are now on 8, new business. And I would like to approve all of new business unless a board member would like an item separated from there. So I'll give you a moment to look over, and if anyone would like to make a motion for all of 8, which is 8A through C.
I'll make the motion for all of 8A through C.
Okay, before we have a second, does anyone
I'll
want?
make the motion to approve.
Thank you.
8, sorry.
Does anyone, before we get a second, does anyone want anything separated? Okay, well, then I need a second. Would anyone like to make a second? Sarah? Okay, is there any discussion on any of the items under new business? Okay, everybody's had time to read over the agenda, obviously, so we're clear on this. So, we're ready to vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, passes unanimously, 6-0. Okay, so we're just going to move to Board of Ed discussion. And I wanted to call your attention to, I just have one item on there, and then I'll open it up to the board. Okay, I'll open it up to the floor for anybody who has comments or questions. So I have the calendar I created, and Nicole put it on the agenda, and then we also have printouts of it. I wanted to inform all of you that I shared this calendar with Dr. Kruger, and she was very happy to see that it was created, and she's good with all the dates. So I just want to draw your attention to the June 2025 dates, and we'll ask you at a later date to consider possibly changing those dates because we have to accommodate for the East Senior and West Senior graduation. Okay?
Is that not scheduled?
As far as I know, I think we did receive a date of June 24th and either June 23rd or June 25th, so, but they're not confirmed. So moving forward, I would just suggest that we leave that empty, and then, whoever's on this board can add those dates at a later time. Does anyone have any questions on the dates? Do they all look good to you, the rest of them?
I would say is that November 5th is election night, so that might be
Okay,
difficult.
yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thinking on that, this year, we actually only had one meeting during November because it is such a crazy month, so maybe we should move that to November 12th and have one meeting. Is the board comfortable with that? I mean, all of you will be on here, so.
I know February is a short month and we're not in, school's not in session for a part of that month. But given the complexity this year of the budget, I would like to have another meeting in there.
Okay,
And maybe move that first draft of the budget up into February. I don't know if that part of it makes sense or we just need another meeting in there. I just want to make sure that we're not, you're going from, February's a short month and there's a lot. I would like to have a second meeting in there.
okay.
If we don't need it, great.
Keep it as a work session.
You can always
I
cancel
would
it.
rather have
Tentative.
something in there.
Yeah.
I would rather have a work session in February.
Okay. Can I add it on the 25th? February 25th?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the week after.
The week after,
Break.
Regents break week.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
I'll add a work session. Okay, thank you for your feedback. Anything else?
The only thing I would ask is that, what I've asked numerous times before, is that this budget, that this calendar be used by music, sports, and
Right.
every other scheduling entity in our district,
Okay,
and hold these days sacred so folks can come and engage in these board meetings. We only meet a couple times a month.
okay.
And,
Well, then let's get it approved next month.
okay.
Sounds good.
Okay? I'll make those changes, and I will actually run them by Dr. Kruger as well, too, just to make sure.
Just want to clarify, we're combining the 5th and the 19th of November to just one meeting, the 12th?
12, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the sooner these are published and set in stone, the better it is for those who have to work around it.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. All right, so I will open the floor up to any board members who have any items they'd like to discuss with each other, or any comments they'd like to make to the community. The floor is yours, just please wait to be recognized, don't interrupt each other, you'll all have a chance to speak, so.
You recognize me? I'm Ed. I have a couple things. I just want to, I had a couple people message me about the increased money from the state, and I am not super great at reading budgets, like as far as, I know we're getting more, if you can help me explain it, sir. I know we're getting more from the state than what we were thinking, but the money's earmarked for different categories. It's not like just a free-for-all. I was wondering if you could help me just explain what my question was to you.
Yeah.
Would that be helpful?
Yeah, so,
Possible?
so the final budget, if you remember the governor's initial budget, the executive budget, we were down, I believe, initially like $680,000 or $670,000 in our anticipated foundation aid.
Okay.
The expense-driven aids weren't finalized yet, and those are typically transportation, BOCES aid, capital, building aid. But when it comes to foundation aid, we only received an additional, I think it was $68,000.
Okay.
So we're still below what we anticipated by $578,000. The one that got bumped up in expense-driven aid was the building aid, but that goes that goes to pay debt service on your capital projects.
Got it. So
those
it's not
are
like a
from-
free pot of money,
Correct.
it's earmarked.
Right, so that was driven, that building aid's driven by the expense reports that are completed and sent to the state, so then the state recalculates. If you remember, in the beginning of the budget development process, there were some slides that showed off to the left side on the state aid slides that talked about those potential increases in building aid, and that came to fruition. But again, it's building aid, it's targeted for building aid and debt service.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then the second thing I just wanted to bring up again, and it doesn't need to be a discussion now, but I don't know whereabouts we would go into that. I always hear, like, we don't offer enough electives, but I've been on the board for 8 years, and I personally have done nothing but see electives added. So I don't know if we look and see what the electives are, if they're being the correct electives. But the other thing I notice, and I'm just gonna, I guess I'll throw my own personal kids under the bus, especially their senior year, they're like never in school. So I don't know if we maybe look at, hey, you know, why is it, why would you not, you know, if there's electives, do you not want to take advantage of these classes? I don't know whether it's a survey or a discussion, or whether we look at the requirements for graduation, or where we're at with that. I know it's come up before, so I don't know if that's a committee or if that's a group that already exists. I believe we have
How about a
elected.
presentation?
What was that?
How about a presentation?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think part of that, though, too, having two kids who graduated and one who's a junior now, is that the kids are meeting with their advisor to create their schedules. And there's little to no parent input.
Okay,
So
clearly not with me.
a couple of my kids had late arrival, early dismissal. Next one, he packed his schedule for next year. So I think maybe just, I know the onus should be on the kids. They're getting to be adults. They need to handle and make those decisions, but I think the parents need to be more involved.
That's a conversation about process for the creation of those schedules and having a signing off process that we're agreeing to, you know, that. But as far as the number of electives, I do believe that there has been conversation about that just a couple board meetings ago. We had some presentations on new electives that have been added to the curriculum that have been driven by student input.
There were two.
And, you know, I think are modernizing and keeping us contemporary at our high schools. You know, one of the things that, as a point of pride, are our academies. I would like to see our academies continue to be strengthened and keep them current as well. But I do agree that our seniors have a little bit too much time on their hands. And, you know, we could control that. It's not like they've exhausted every, you know.
And
My son does not know how to play the French horn, and I believe that there's an opportunity, if you so sought, to learn how to play the French horn. But he's not doing that. So that's on us to push him into the.
They also could be going to work,
Yeah.
which my son does.
Yeah, that's what I said, I just want to discuss it, I don't know. But I do know a lot of our electives, and I know we increased the academy participation, not the academies as a whole, but we did open them up to students who are interested in some of the classes in the academies. That could help, but clearly we can't afford to have electives that aren't filled. And so we can't just add more electives for adding them if they're not going to be full classes. And that seems to be
I
what
think
see
having
as-
the numbers in a presentation form
Yeah.
would be beneficial.
Okay.
And Sarah, I wanted to piggyback on your comment about parent involvement. I do feel like I did receive an email about checking my son's power school to make sure that the classes that he had selected I was in agreement with. So I do think that there's been a bit of a shift in that to get the parents to be involved because, yes, the kids sometimes will make not the best choices.
I should also say that we were coming out of COVID, so.
Yes,
in my-
true. Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to talk about?
Yeah, I was going to ask Dr. Ray if you could help us do me a favor, because you're a little more articulate than I am. But what would you give as the best explanation to those watching at home about decreasing enrollment, yet taxes continue to increase? So we have fewer students in the seats, but it costs more to educate, and taxes continue to rise. So I thought it was a very fair question, and I think I know the answer, but I would rather have you provide it.
Yeah, I think a quick thumbnail sketch of a response for that would be the increase in expenses when it comes to contractual obligations, healthcare, and retirement. Those are the three biggest cost drivers that you have, and they're exceeding your revenue streams, including state aid. And I think we have heard from the governor during this budget development process this year that she kind of gave us a warning for next year that the foundation aid formula is going to be under review. In fact, they're using an outside independent institute to review the foundation aid. I think they're spending a significant amount of money within the state budget to have that review. And the key piece of the formula that's going to be under review is student enrollment. Right now, the formula has the enrollment for all schools across New York State. I believe it's from 2006. So if you go all the way back to 2006, whatever the enrollment was here in West Seneca was significantly higher than it is today. I would wager a guess it was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 1,800 more students here at that point in time than there are today. And if that gets right-sized to current enrollment, that's going to have a negative impact on your foundation aid for next year. So when you lose that revenue stream, there's only, if you remember the levers, there's only two ways to make that up. And that's to increase your tax levy, which is your taxes, or utilize more reserves, or continue to reduce on your expenditure side.
Well, in
So, yeah,
2006, we didn't have a lot of the unfunded mandates that we have now
Yeah,
either.
absolutely correct. And that's the advocacy that school boards across the state need to make towards Albany, is that the amount of mandates that have been put in place since 2006, along with the increasing and significant needs that our students have faced post-COVID, we need to make those adjustments. They need to make those adjustments in the funding formula. So at the end of the day, it's if the revenue stream falls down either from state aid, or and on the other side you have the increase in expenditures that are outpacing the revenue, you have no other choice but to raise your levy.
So the cost to educate a child now is much more expensive.
Correct.
Well, right, I mean.
And we all know that, but maybe the community doesn't know that.
Well, and one of the things that I think we need to do to keep our community engaged is to do a better job of educating folks on those things. It's a very complex, and regulated system. The school system has, there are all kinds of things that we have to provide, that we have to pay for, that just are not the same as they were even 10 years ago, right?
I think that's part of the hope of the Board of Education newsletter too, is to educate the public as much as we can in a digestible format about the foundation aid formula and how students are assigned a number.
And look,
Correct.
I give Dr. Aby a ton of credit for the level of detail he's provided throughout this process, far deeper and more, just more depth to it than I'd seen in the last 6 years that I've been paying attention here in West Seneca or any other district that I've been at, really. But it's still murky for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
why that is, and I would like to clarify that and help bring that forward. So I think that's one of the things that we need to have as a board goal. And, we've had a lot of initiatives this year.
Yes.
We took on a lot. We took on, right out of the gate, redistricting, which we still need to address. We took on a capital project. We launched a capital project, and we did a lot of legwork there. That hasn't necessarily, that went down, because I don't think we did a good enough job in explaining that. It's just we, maybe as a board and as a district, need to slow down a little bit in order to make sure that folks are with us, right? Because even at this, with this budget that we adopted last year, there's a ton of misunderstanding and a ton of unclarity out there for folks. So I just, the intention of making that statement, but I do think that we need, as a board and as a district, to engage our citizenship, engage our stakeholders, and have a more open conversation to educate as well as share and collaborate.
And if I may, as you're thinking about next year and setting goals over the summer, if you have a board retreat, and begin to talk about your advocacy actions, not just fighting for additional foundation aid or foundation aid that is relative to the needs of the district and the students that you serve. There are two other areas that the board can really advocate with the local legislators to take back to Albany, and that's establishing additional reserves to help soften the sudden increases in expenses, such as special education. If there was a special education reserve, we would have been able to soften that blow of $1.9 million, right? And we wouldn't have had to impact the tax levy as much, or maybe make as much reductions in other areas within the district. And then the second one, which a number of districts do endorse, but you need legislative action on, and that's a health care reserve to help soften your increases in health care. You have a independent, you have a self-funded trust for your health care, and if you could get both the Assembly and the Senate to support that and get a bill signed, you could have an additional reserve to help soften those health care increases, which again, if you remember how those kind of spiked on us this year during the budget development process, we would have been able to utilize or tap that reserve to soften the impact that it would have on the levy. So those are two advocacy action items that you can take up with your local legislators.
Can I add on to that?
At least one person out there is taking notes.
Can I actually speak on that? Because I feel like it's really important for people to understand that when you're on the board, you have a 3-year term. I would say the first year term is probably like your biggest learning curve, right? Second year, you get your feet are wet, you kind of understand. By your third year, you finally get a sense of what you're doing, and then it's time to go. So I feel that we've taken on so much as a Board of Education this year. We have. And it's been amazing, and we've made some great strides, and we've brought on an amazing superintendent. We didn't have time to do one of the biggest roles a board can do, is advocate with legislators. We have had no time to do that. And I just encourage you and whoever's on this board to take advantage of those opportunities through New York State School Boards, through Erie County Association of School Boards. They'll help you. They'll arrange meetings for you. I mean, that is the role of the board, That is one of the biggest roles, aside from hiring and evaluating and working with the superintendent. So I just encourage you. And then, it does take a long time to learn the whole process.
Yeah, and that's part of our goal setting, right?
Right.
We had objectives lined up for this year that we took on. And some of them we were successful in, others we were not. We'll go back to that this summer and get better at it. We're a learning community here too, right? This is all.
Right.
So.
Yep. Moving forward. I have a question?
Yeah,
Sarah has a question.
I have a question that I don't know if is appropriate for here, but I'm going to ask anyway. The additional $1.3 million if this budget doesn't pass in staffing reductions, do we know what that will look like as far as FTEs, what that will do to class sizes, where those hits are going to be?
Not specifically right now, but I can tell you that we will employ the same rationale that we did during the other reductions. And number one priority is to have the least amount of impact on our students. So we will identify areas that we can reduce around staffing, if that's what we need to do on the FTE side, it will have the least amount of impact on students. And we'll start on that right away if we need to on May 22nd and present that to the board.
Okay. Anybody else that I didn't share? Okay, I just have just a couple of things to say. I just wanted to say that at our last board meeting, I had hoped I would have an opportunity to speak, but it was a very emotional meeting for me and our board members. And, you know, when things like that happen, it's sometimes hard to get the words out, but I just wanted to let everybody know that, you know, back last year, there were concerns and questions brought up. Board members were noticing so many positions were being created. You know, we sent a directive stating we need to know why, the sustainability, what's the reason behind it, what's the cost, what's the benefit. It was asked over and over and over. And when my new board members came on, I told them this is going to be a tough budget year. It is. So what I'm trying to say is I knew, our previous board members knew this was going to be a tough year. What I'm sad about is that the community didn't know and the staff didn't know. I think that it was a miss. You should have known, and I feel bad about that, and I think that we tried our best, but we had quite a bit going on, and, you know, I have a different, go ahead, Vince, you're making a face.
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm not going to steal your thunder.
Yeah, please. So I just wanted to say that watching the meetings back is hard. We raised the questions in public, and we were told it can be supported within the budget, you know, attrition, raising taxes, and, you know, here we are. We knew this day was coming. I'm sad, I'm disappointed that anyone who was blindsided, and I hope that there's light at the end of the tunnel with a new superintendent who, that's our board primary and most important responsibility, is to find, work, and evaluate a superintendent. I can say with confidence we put in so many hours of our time, and I believe we found an amazing leader for this district. Dr. Raby came out of retirement to help us for what was supposed to be 4 to 6 months. He ended up being here a year, and he gave us the time we needed to find the right leader for this district. So I'd just like to end on that note. And then if there's anything else anyone wants to add to that. Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, your sentiments are spot on. There's no joy in losing members of our learning community here. People, you know, we hire people now with the idea that we're somehow going to not use them anymore. But the writing was on the wall over a year ago. The writing was on the wall. It was stated at this table that there was no way that those positions would be absorbed into that next budget. So, I don't know, between March of 2023 and, you know, March of 2024, how that was not a known thing when we sat up here for months at budget meetings talking about it. So,
Yeah. All right. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll add, I think it's hard to remember what it was like to do business as a parent or a community member when you're not on the school board, because I don't know a lot of people that look forward to watching our meetings that can't make them. Like, my wife is at my daughter's concert right now, and then she's heading over to finish up at a track meet for my daughter. I don't even know that my wife knows I'm at this meeting. So there's probably, you said how many eligible voters? 30?
Over 30,000.
I'm going to think maybe 200 of them know we have a meeting right now, if we're lucky. So sometimes when we're in it, it's hard to
Right.
go back to when we weren't in it. Like, you know, I'm always proud that I fought to get them on video, and then what? Like, I mean,
We
how
get
many
about
people?
200, 300 views per
Yeah,
video.
Which is great. What-
Right.
So 200, yeah.
Well, you were right.
So, yeah, so that's
Yeah,
great.
it's not a
but-
lot of people.
I mean, I have people that are parents in this district that still ask me if I'm on the board. That still like ask me if I'm on the board still. So I don't disparage them in any way, but I'm just wondering if we need to maybe engage people in other ways of like, you know, the newsletter, first of all, second of all, is beautiful, whatever of all it is. That is beautiful. We continue that. That was amazing. I got a lot of feedback on that.
Okay, good.
That was great.
I think
So those
then-
types of things, you know, I mean, it's hard to not be involved and think of how we communicate differently. I think it's very difficult. It's almost like we're in the room, so, like, how do you not know?
I think we're doing better communicating.
Oh, absolutely, yes. I just keep thinking of the parents and the community members, taxpayers, that don't even know there's an election or a vote coming up,
Right.
you know? So that's just an
We
idea.
do the best we can.
Yeah.
Educating.
Absolutely. I just wondering if there's a way to think outside the box, that's all.
I know.
I don't know it.
The million-dollar question, if
Yeah.
anybody can
I think
answer
maybe
it.
if we, for
Yeah.
our next newsletter, we do sort of a year in review and what's ahead for next year, just so those things are already out there at the end of the school year.
Yeah.
All right, well, then we're going to move into, we have to move into executive session. So may I have a motion to move into executive session for the employment history of particular individuals and contractual negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law?
I'll make the motion to do what you said.
Okay, may I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I'm taking Sarah. Any discussion? Nope. All in favor? Aye. All right, we will not resume any public voting, so thank you for joining us and have a great evening.